Hi guys, Shirley Peters here. Thanks for joining me. Today I'm going to paint a little scene with some ducks in it. Fairly simple. It looks complex, but there's no buildings or bridges or fences or any man-made objects here that can interfere with the layout of the paint. So that means the paint's going to be easy to apply. You can't really make a mistake. So the ducks might need a little bit of attention. That's about the only thing. Everything else is fairly easy going. So I'm going to be using, today I'll use rough, Arches rough. And I actually had a go at this before on cheap paper and it did not work. And I'll show you at the end of the video what it looked like. I won't show you now, it's horrible. But anyway, that's the Arches rough that I'm using. Expensive, I'm afraid it is, and it's a little bit of a luxury for me, but it's so good to be able to scrape the paint on this sort of a textured paper. So, and scraping I will do because I'll use a card, plastic card, and a big brush. It's in my this brush. Just got it sitting in the water, which was a bit naughty of me. I'll just what I'm doing now is I'm just putting some water into the paints. I just run a wet brush across them to wet them up before I start. I should have done this a couple of hours ago, to tell you the truth. It's always good to do it early, like the day before or the night before you're going to do some painting, or early in the morning. And the water sort of soaks in and softens the pans, and they become so much richer as far as stronger paint. So that's it. I shall now turn the camera around and we'll get started. And if you happen to like, that'd be fantastic. Please click the like button. And if you haven't already subscribed, I'd love you to be a subscriber. And if you hit the notification bell, that way you're notified when I upload a new video. Anyway, let's get started now. Turn this around. Okay, that looks good. So I'm going to be a blue sky, and this is where I use my swatches sometimes. This is where they can be handy to put it in front of the colour that you want. I'm looking at the sky here, and I'm thinking the cobalt blue is going to be the right blue. Then my trick is to make sure I'm up to date with these colours, and I'm not. They've mixed around a little bit. Pretty sure this is cobalt blue there, that one. But because I've got such a fat brush at the moment, it's a bit hard to get that in. Now I'm not worrying about a clean pan to start with, because I don't necessarily want the colour to be that pretty. Quite happy for a bit of a scungy, bit of blacky brown colour as well. So just using, this is a block of paper. It's glued down on all sides, so I don't have to stretch it or worry about it buckling. But that said, it has lifted a little bit. Halfway down, I think it's not stuck to its backing board, which is a bit annoying. So just spread some blues across there. To tell you the truth, I don't think that's the right sort of blue, so I'm going to throw in some ultramarine blue, which is kind of my favourite. Okay, I'm going to bring it down into the ground a little bit. I have to think about this. Will I make a bit of a cloud? If I wanted to do clouds up there, now's the time to put the cloud in, because what you do is go over it with a bit of a dry brush and suck up some of that wetness that has the colour in it. That can give you some nice little idea of a cloud in the distance. I'll just do that one again, make that a little bit lighter. Okay. Going to add a little bit of purple to my brush, make it a tiny bit warmer, and put in a hint of mountains behind, using purple into the blue. This brush is becoming a bit daggy. This is what happens. This is how you can tell when the brush is not real good. starts to, maybe it's me not having cleaned it well enough, possible. Anyway, I'll just continue on, not complain too much. The ground here is quite brown, so I'm going to go to some orangey, reddy, browny colours. Or a nice deep red like that, might be too much. I'll add a bit of yellow into it. Pick up some yellow from that side, put it in there. So that's becoming nice and brown. Okay, there's a bit of a hill at the back. Another hill there. Okay, I'll tip into water every now and then. I'll tip into water just to lighten the colours. I'll just run them across like that. That's becoming a dry brush, and I kind of like it. I don't mind that at all. Now I have a puppy dog trying to get in, so excuse me, I'll just have to stop and go and get her. Okay, let's pull you around. So here's my little girl trying to get in the door. Honey, oh. Honey, say hello to everybody. Hello. Hello. Okay, I'll put her down over here, and then we'll get back to work. Don't get my microphone all mixed up. There we go. She's looking for tennis balls. Anyway, before my painting dries too much, I'll get back to it. Oh dear. Where was I? When I come back, I find some interesting things have happened and I rather like them. A bit more. Blues fading through that mountain. I mean, I obviously didn't brush over it very hard, but I don't mind that. I'll just, often it's worthwhile don't keep going over backwards and forwards to make sure your colour's there. Just stop, and like I did then, just walk away for a little while. And when you come back, you might be surprised at how much how your painting has settled down and doesn't look too bad with the white bits or the parts you haven't put paint on. Okay, still very wet there, so just putting in a few little details here and there to add interest. In the foreground here, there's some more. Some large trees there that might end up being useful. Once I put a little bit of green down like that, I come back with a touch of blue or purple and just touch it back into that blue, that green you just put down. You don't want one colour to dominate. You don't want anything to be a single colour. You want a combination of 2 colours or 3 colours in every little area. And that's what keeps the eye interested. That's what looks interesting. Otherwise it starts to look a bit boring. It's predictable. So I'm just putting tufts of, there's some branches there, but I actually think I'd rather there be a fence back there. So just put a couple of lines into, maybe later on I'll put a fence in. Now the foreground here is much greener. It's got a swampy area. So I'm putting heavy green on my brush, and to tell you the truth, I don't want that same green, so I'll add a bit of brown to it. I'll mix it in this pan here. And I shall start by, got some rather large areas, so I'll just do a horizontal, couple of big strokes going like that. There's water in there, so I'll leave that blankish, already gone over it a little bit. I'm just going to play down here and get these shapes of the edges of the waterways. And interestingly enough, I've gone to a prettier green, which is fine variation. So just have to lift this out over the edge a bit. This is one of the problems. If you don't tape your edges up, you do have to, in my book anyway, I like to work right to the edge of the paper if I haven't taped it. So, in the photograph it's pale down the bottom here, but I'm going to make it darker. Oh, it's really annoying me. I'll just hold it up for a little bit, get some blue and brown on my brush and see if I can make that darker in the front. It's so much better to have a dark foreground. It's a traditional thing. And then here, there's dark there too. So I might even go the blue side of it just for variety. Stick the green over the top of that blue. Pull up a few little bits and pieces here and there. Put a little bit of blue at the back. Just fumbling it in really. Nothing really very, there's a bush. Some of these areas here have got some dark, so I'll just knock them in. Now I'm going to wet the brush, just blend it across the back there a little bit. Run a wet brush between the two layers of foreground and foreground. That'll do for that. I want to add some interesting reeds and things there, which, to tell you the truth, I can see there's some red tops to these like little grassy, whatchamacallits, grasses. Grab my brush in there, pull it down from those red areas. Okay, so enough at the moment. Oh, while it's wet, just test out. I only just put those in. In fact, I'll blend them across a little bit. Come back in a minute. What I want to do is just scrape some things out to start getting texture going. Using the back of the brush. Sometimes I use my finger. That's pretty accurate, because you can vary your finger marks. All the brushes are a little bit rounded. They don't get that real cut edge your finger can get. Even down the front here. So even though these might not show up straight away, they will show sometimes when you put the next layer of paint on that you've put this texture in. Be doing a couple of trees back there in a minute. Waiting for those trees. To put those trees in, I want that to be dry at the back. So I'm going to fill this water area in, and it's got the little bit of pale blue matching the sky. So using a slightly smaller brush, I'm just going to put the dark ultramarine blue at the back of the pond. Using a smaller brush, but I don't need to. I'll probably swap to a bigger one in a minute. It's kind of like a shadow from the sky. And I'll get the bigger brush, which is my mop, and just touch a bit of water against that blue and let it roll down into the, let gravity pull it down the page. And then allow those little white, with this rough paper you do get a fair bit of business happening, dry brush happening where the paint's just skipped across the surface, and it's quite fine, just let that happen. And I'll just put a tiny bit of, I'll put some purple here. I know I'm going to have a couple of trees growing here, so I just want to put a little bit of dark patches along the edge and let them forward, come down into the water. Okay. Now, I will take a little bit of the purpley blue colour and just do a little bit of stroke going like that. This is going to be the ducks, so I'm just putting their wake in now while that area is a little bit wet. So I don't want it to go too harsh, so it's just going to soften out. And at the background here I could probably add a bit more of that detail. There were some trees there. I'll add blue to them so they're not too dark, not as dark as as the printout shows. Yeah, I'm just doing sideways on my brush and letting it just float across the top of that paper, so therefore it's not too harsh. Dry brush. More trees here that they've because of the wet mountain behind, they lost their tops, so I'll put them back in. Okay, right in the distance I want to add some more stuff that's happening. I'll get a very light blue on my brush and put in some shapes over there to make it look like there's trees over on that distant plane. This is where you can have fun, just make things up. So you want to have some trees going up that hill. There you go, trees, hill. If you wanted to put some more business behind there, that's something you could do, knowing it's going to fade out. And keep an eye on it. If it doesn't fade out, well, even before it fades out, get your wet brush and just, what I do is wet the brush and then I just squeeze out the water so that it's kind of no paint, just a little bit of water on it. Smooth out distant activity, distant trees, so that you get rid of half their edge and leave half their edge in. And we call that lost and found. And it's quite interesting because the eye half works out what it is and then the eye can't quite tell what it is, so it makes it more interesting. Just going to add some interesting colour here. I'm not quite happy. I like the mauve there. I just want to add a bit more mauve in this mid-ground, mainly because there are some grey branches that have fallen off the trees I'm about to put in, and I just want them to bring that a purpley grey colour. If you do download this photograph, which will be available on my website, you'll see that there's a little bit of mauve in those fallen branches. They're quite nice, so I put them in, then I'll go over the top and suck them out, so that way if I just lift out like that, it's all good fun. So when that gets dry, I think it's dry enough now, I'm just going to put those very, very high poplar trees in, and I'm going to mix ultramarine brown, ultramarine, okay, that's my new colour. Ultramarine, blue and burnt umber, so blue and brown together. And I don't know how much I'm going to have on this brush, but then I'll just have a quick look at that and think, how high do I have to go? I think my painting is a lot higher than the trees, so I think I've gone higher in the sky than the photograph indicates. So what I'm going to do is just carefully, I'm following the style of tree because it's different to our normal gum trees. These poplars have got a different shape. Their branches come off really vertical. Everything's so vertical in them. And you know, this was midsummer, so I have a feeling these are dead trees. These trees should have leaves on them. So this would have been from the severe drought that Tasmania's just had. I don't know if they've got over it yet. They were very dry when we were still there in February. Okay. So, and this is just the basic shape. I shall come back a bit later on and with my rigger and add to this. It just gives me an idea now of the feature in the painting. The thinner one behind. A couple of fallen, maybe fallen branches back there, or fallen trees. It's hard to pick. No animals in this, bit of a shame. Oh, forgetting the ducks, but there's no cows. Tempted to put some in. We'll see. So while I've got this dark, it's gone now. I'll mix up some more ultramarine blue. I'll put it in here, burnt umber. Because it's near the water, I'll put the blue back in. Just go around the edge of and drag it up into the clumps to make clumps of grass. Okay. Now that you've got the water in, you can really go to town on the reeds that will appear over the top of the water. Here there's some beautiful, I'll use the very tip of my brush to put these reeds in. Every now and then there's a curved one. And here there's almost reverse painting. You're doing the shadows behind some of the clumps of reeds. I shall just drag those up, make some really strong statements on the sides. Same with this one, I'll just do some bigger pieces, just at the edge there. Put some in the middle here. This part is all made up because I haven't, in the photograph it's just plain grass, but I do want to keep the reeds in there. Okay, a bit more dark at the bottom of this tree. And these ones here they've got an actual grey base on there. What I'll do, come back over those and I shall, with a wet brush, dry it off on my rag, sideways, scrub the middle of those trees out. That's how you put a lovely circular tree over a background in watercolour. So you have to lift out. That gives you that gradation from dark on the edge, light in the middle, dark on the other edge. If you're wondering about that ping, that was here, not at your place. Someone's on my WhatsApp. I should have turned that off before I started videoing. Too bad. I'm on a roll now. And once I get in the habit of picking out, I just love it. So I just take some centres out of those bushes. So whenever you have a bush that looks a bit heavy, just grab the brush with a bit of water on it and scrub out the centre of it. Leave the edges there. I'm an edge person. I do like a solid edge sometimes, most of the time. Some people like it very floaty and soft, and I'm a bit of a hard edge from my art school days. That was the fashion back in the time. Right, now I'm going to scrub some more of this out because it's getting a little bit samey and lacking detail. So by scrubbing out, you suddenly create a ton of detail, so fine that you could never have painted it in. You wouldn't have had a brush that small. Joining some of those so-called branch shapes together across there. And scrub that in. if you've got your paper just the right dampness to start with before you put these sort of elements in, it'll blend, but you can't always be sure. So if you come back afterwards, you can soften them up in hindsight, work backwards. Scrubbing into everything. Love it. Okay. Get some dark on my brush and just tap it in here and there, really dark actually. While that's wet from the scrubbing out, I can just tap back into it. Oh, don't know what I'm doing there. Making a mistake there. I'm going to fatten it up at the base. It's better. Because this is where you can come back with gouache afterwards. But I find on these sort of natural paintings of nature, you don't need to add gouache. Unless, of course, you want to put a couple of flying birds across the sky, that type of thing, really detail, absolutely sharp-edged. Then you could also do the reverse where you put in the masking fluid. Now that's the row of trees. I'm going to play with this area here. I'm going to put a really bright green on my brush just as an experiment against that red. Just see how it goes. And it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to stay there. I'm just playing around. If you do it lightly enough, you can add things in that are a little bit extreme without ruining everything, because you can come back and water them down. So I'm just putting that lovely pretty green in. So every now and then you just need to sparkle things up a little bit with a pretty colour, even if it's not dominant in your photograph. Okay, so I'll just half rub them out a little bit with wet water. They look fine, but I just don't want them too much predominant there. So I want them to be there, but not overtaking. So I might just touch a bit of fresh green into the distance here. Once again, looking for places I can put some nice colour. There's a little bit of a ridge there. I'll just put that in. When I say put it in, you put the paint down and then you pull it out again. And then where you left your scrapes before, they're holding the paint, and you're able to take out, it's almost magic, pulling out the background. Okay. Add some interest to this tree. It's become a little bit dull, just a blob. What to do with a blob? So I'll scratch out some paint. I'll wet it first, rub it all over with the water, dry the brush, and then soak it up. Oh. Well, I've just been talking for about an hour to my twin sister Carmel. Hi Carm. And everything's dried, which is fine. So I think I was at the stage where I was just playing around with this bush here, and now that it's dry, I can probably, to tell you the truth, it's a little bit purpley blue, I think. Hang on, it might help if I put my glasses on. Where are my glasses? Oh, here they are, top of my head. I might try a little bit of purpley blue on this bush just for the fun of it. And I'll just dab it here and there. Actually, now that I'm looking at it, I think that it'll make it look like that's the shadow. So, all right, I'll put some yellow. I'll go yellow. How about that? I'll add that to the purple and see what interesting patterns I can get. Okay, back to green. Blend it together with a bit of green. That'll do. And looking at these ones back here, I'm kind of tempted to always, I don't know what to do with them, to tell you the truth. They're a little bit of a mystery to me. This is the third thing I've tried on these. Third time I've gone over them. So put a little bit of darkness on that far side of that little hill, that little mound, and then just run them up. And then every now and then blend sideways, vertical, sideways, vertical. Do that. Okay. Now these beautiful reeds here have got, this is where you have to choose your brush fairly carefully. I want a fairly skinny brush. Let's see if this will soften up to be the right. Just a neutral, the reflection in the water, I'm just going to make a bluey, yeah, I think blue purpley colour will be fine. It's just not much different to what it is now. So what I'll do is reverse, wherever they are sticking up, I'm going to put them going down, and then I shall get another brush and just sideways swipe. Oops, another clean brush, that's dirty. Just swipe across sideways with a bit of wet water, just a little bit to give that feel of, oh, it's running too much. I don't really want it to be a blue stripe across sideways. Get that reflection. Another way of doing it, in a more positive way, is to just go tap, 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 tap. And you can put in your little, you can physically put the reflections down without having to just do that, what I just did, which wasn't that successful. So some of these sideways. I'm like this, I tend to go a bit graphic-y, I tend to overstate things rather than, subtlety's not my middle name. So I'm just putting in these reflections of these dark areas, I'm putting down into the water. And now I want to put these ducks in. And to tell you the truth, I think they've got a warm light on them. So they're kind of light brown. And if I half close my eyes, I think what I'll do is, you know what I'm going to do? I'll get a piece of paper and have a practice. Here's a rough, looks like a rough sheet. Have a practice with these ducks, just to see how I can make them look like ducks without labouring the point. So if I push in like that, pull out, little head, one, it sort of goes down and out. It's a matter of how thick you want the body to be and where the thickness of the body should be. It's sort of in the middle. And they've got the neck, they've got the beak. And underneath is actually darker, the reflection, reversing what you see. Don't know about this. So anyway. Yeah, I don't think that's really all that good. I'll just have a quick go at picking them out. Once I've put that brown fawn colour in on the body. Kind of okay. I'll separate them up. I might have a go at doing it with the mop. And I might just have a go at doing slightly orangey, yellowy colour. So, going to go down, fat. I think I've made a mistake there already. You know what? I've put him in the wrong spot. I should have put it at the foreground before the wake of the water. One back here. Ducks. I don't think ducks are my thing. Okay. So, trick now, using the pointy part of the knife that while they're still wet, the pointy edge of the brush, I'm just going to put dark underneath the beak area, the bottom of the bird, bottom of the chest, just to give that three-dimensional feel. Trick here, it's got to be as loose as this. You can't go real tight on these birds, so it's a good idea to do what I just did, and that's have a bit of a practice so that you feel a little bit loose about it and then go for it. Now I'm going to put his shadow in straight away, and the shadow has to kind of reflect straight up and down. And there's almost nothing, there's no shadow for the body, it's just the head and neck and just a tiny bit under the body. And I will then pull those, what is under the body, I'll just feather that back like this. This is where this pointy brush, mop, works. That'll do. And I need to do the other side. And much lighter on the other side. One or two will do. And I'll come back, because they're fairly fat, I'll come back over those with fresh water and just thin them out a little bit, or fiddle. That's better, yeah. Just suck it up a little bit like that. Same on this side. Take out some of the colour, and that allows you to give that interesting edge. Worth practicing. This is fun. When that's a little bit drier, I will come back over that and darken those at the bottoms of those birds where they're sitting on the water. I won't do it straight away now. Just wait a little bit. While I'm here, I can just see I need to pick out some interesting areas over the other side of the bank. So I've put that very dark purpley blue shadow in there, and the best thing about this is you can peel it back. Take it off with a wet brush. Some of these can be scrubbed right back to very light, and that gives a variety. This is where I can just fiddle for ages. Same back here, but I won't, I'll just scrub through so you can see yourself what needs to be done, and when you're doing this yourself, you can have fun. Right. Now I'm going to finish those trees. Might add a few little gnarly branches and logs over in the distance, but I just have to find my rigger, which is somewhere. Okay. I pick up a rigger and find it hasn't been cleaned. Oh, Shirley. When will you learn? Now, I'm going to mix, just for the fun of it, a little bit of raw sienna. I don't think it's, well, it could be burnt sienna. Anyway, it's sienna, that reddy brown colour, with a bit of purple, because I just want some interesting lines to come down through the sky. Okay, need more water. I want them to go pretty well straight, following the lines of the rigor. Look how thin they are, aren't they lovely? That's what this brush can do for you. A few more down there. I might go even darker. I'll go more purple. Oops, losing the hair. One hair gone, one left probably. Now, if I had plenty of time, I could really play with these trees back here, but I won't at this stage because I want to finish this video within a reasonable time frame. With the brush like this, you can really have fun. Looking at the photograph, there's so many branches that you can probably not overdo it. Just keep going. Putting a couple of darker ones in so that I can speed up that process of okay. Now, in the distance over here, there's a couple of branches that are sitting on the ground from trees that have fallen. And underneath these trees there'd be a fair bit of fallen branches as well. Every wind they'd fall down. Now, sometimes I can pick a fence. I think I've got a fence coming over here. So, the beauty of a fence is it just adds that feeling of space, because you can put, in this case, I can exaggerate the perspective. And there's no limit to how much fun one can have with a rigger and reeds. So you can imagine this is good fun. This is where you can put in some bright colours too. You can go for, oh, I'll tell you what, I might try, what could I do? Orange. Something like orange in amongst the green. Maybe just enough to add that little bit of interest into the dull areas. Because often pictures like this, they will give you dull spots. And as an artist, let's face it, you can do whatever you like. So if you want to fake up some colours, if you want to put a purple sky, yep. So just here and there, a few bright colours, especially seeing as I've got those orangey pink things happening there. I can put those in. Put the orange over the top of the pink, I mean. All the way across the front there's reeds coming up, so I could go silly, but I won't. At this stage I'll just put the shadows underneath these birds. I wanted to, oops, another hair out. I just want to choose dark blue, dark purpley colours, and I'm just going to darken right under the bird. And pull it out. It's a thin line. At this stage I'm just doing a thin line. I might go to a thicker brush in a minute. Yes, I think I need to. So I'm just going to go to, say, a wedgie shape. A little bit of brown and blue together. And give me that total black colour. And I'll just darken down, darken the reflection into the water. And if you half close your eyes, that's all you need to do. Just a couple of dabs there to make that, exaggerate that wake coming off the bird. Dark under the beak. So they're just shapes, they're not characters. You don't put eyeballs on them, you don't do anything like that. Here and there's a little bit of circular weeds, reeds. All right. think I was in the middle of darkening this at the base before when the phone rang, so I'll just finish that off. Yeah, I'm dark at the front and very pale at the back. That's the trick. And I'll just add a little bit of redness to these trunks with a hint of leaving some of it grey. And I shall sign it, and that will be the finish of this painting. And I always sign in red, and that's a tradition, I think, coming from China. And if I can, I get away with, I'll use this strange rigger style. Oh, no, that's not going to work. You do need a very fine brush, but you need one that you can control as well, because there's not much point in putting your signature there if you can't even read it yourself. One of these middle-sized mops might make a good signing brush. Go to magenta, that's what I'm using. Some of my older paintings, not all these recent watercolours, some of them I haven't signed. I've got to go back and do that because I just don't feel it's complete. Sometimes I'll sign halfway through and then keep working on it. But that's it in this case. That'll be finished. So I'm pulling that duck pond for obvious reasons. Thanks for watching. Right. Thanks very much for watching. This is the painting. 3 little ducks in the pond. I actually like the way the dry brush on the blue, leaving bits of white, has sort of added a bit of a sparkle to the water that's not in the actual photograph. So sometimes funny things happen like that, or fun things happen, and they can be quite an improvement. Anyway, so I'm really glad you stuck with me all the way through. Materials are all mentioned below. Painting, the original photograph is available on my website for download as a PDF. And I look forward to catching up with you next time. Bye for now.